My face is so good, Miss Hiller, the water's boiling. That one line captured the magic of Mrs. Doubtfire, a film that lives on in the hearts of millions. But behind the laughs and legendary scenes stood two icons, Robin Williams and Sally Field. Now, at 78, two-time Academy Award winner Sally Field has finally broken her silence. And what she's revealing about the late Robin Williams is turning heads across the world. For decades, fans saw them as the perfect comedic duo, full of warmth, wit, and undeniable chemistry. But years after Williams' tragic death, Sally is offering a raw, emotional glimpse into the man behind the laughter, the pain he carried, the brilliance he battled with, and the truth no one dared to speak, until now. For years, many wondered what Sally Field truly felt about her time with Robin Williams, but until now, she chose to remain silent. Hollywood has long celebrated Williams as a comic genius, a gentle soul, and a deeply misunderstood artist. But in a rare and startling revelation, Sally Field is now pulling back the curtain. According to her, there was another side to Robin, one far more complex, and at times, deeply troubling. Her words don't just add a new dimension to his legacy, they challenge everything we thought we knew. Was Robin's brilliance a blessing, or was it a mask for inner chaos? Was the man who lit up the screen hiding wounds darker than anyone imagined? Field's long-delayed honesty is sparking fresh conversations, not only about Williams, but about the crushing weight of genius, the silence of fame, and the invisible battles that even the brightest stars fight alone. From her early days as a bubbly TV star in the 1960s to becoming a double Academy Award winner, Sally Field's own journey is a masterclass in reinvention and quiet resilience. Born on November 6, 1946, in Pasadena, California, she has spent over 6 decades in the spotlight, evolving from America's sweetheart into one of the most respected dramatic actresses in Hollywood. Her recent memoir and her 2023 SAG Lifetime Achievement Award are not just honors, they are reflections of a woman who has endured, transformed, and never stopped telling the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. Sally Field was never one to let the world define her. While many actresses of her era were boxed into roles designed by others, Field quietly, but powerfully, built a legacy entirely on her own terms. Her journey began in the early 1960s with the television series Gidget, 1965 to 1966, a short-lived show that nonetheless gained cult status. In it, Field portrayed a vibrant, spirited teenager who perfectly captured the energy of America's evolving youth culture. Her charm, razor-sharp comedic timing, and expressive range made her an instant favorite in living rooms across the nation. But fame came with its own burdens. From 1967 to 1970, she starred in the wildly popular sitcom The Flying Nun, a role that brought her even greater recognition, and yet, left her feeling creatively suffocated. Playing Sister Bertrille, a nun whose tiny frame allowed her to fly, was whimsical on the surface, but behind the scenes, it became a painful reminder of how Hollywood often limited talented women to shallow, typecast roles. Field would later reflect on this period not with bitterness, but with clarity, recognizing it as a turning point, a moment where she knew she had to break free and demand more from her craft, and from herself. She was unhappy with only being seen as a cute comedic actress and longed for more serious and challenging roles. Her big break came in 1976 with the groundbreaking drama Sybil, in which she played a woman with dissociative identity disorder. The role was emotionally difficult and required a level of depth that few people thought she had until she proved them wrong. Her powerful performance shocked critics, won her an Emmy, and changed the course of her career. Showing the world that Field could do much more than light-hearted comedies. The next year, in 1977, she starred opposite Burt Reynolds in Smokey Icky and the Bandit, a high-octane action comedy that was one of the biggest hits of the year at the box office. It was also the start of a public relationship between Field and Reynolds that lasted for several years. Their chemistry on-screen was palpable, and off-screen they became one of Hollywood's most talked-about couples, despite the glitz surrounding their relationship. Field stayed focused on building a serious career. Her hard work paid off when she won her first Academy Award for Best Actress for her role in Norma Rae. In that movie, Field played a Southern textile worker who becomes a labor union organizer. The role was physically and emotionally demanding, but it struck a chord with both audiences and critics. Field's performance showed the strength, moral clarity, and grit of a woman who stands up to injustice, and it cemented Field's place among the great actresses. In Hollywood, winning the Oscar wasn't just a professional accomplishment, it was also a personal affirmation that she had broken out of the narrow confines of her early career field. She kept going strong in the 1980s, and in 1984, she won her second Academy Award for Best Actress for her role in Places in the Heart. During her acceptance speech, she said, "You like me right now, you like me." This line has become famous, but it's often said wrong. Even though it was made fun of, her comment showed how much the award meant to her after years of fighting to be taken seriously. It became one of the most memorable moments in Oscar history. From 1985 to 1990, Field was in a string of critically and commercially successful movies. In Murphy's Romance, 1985, she played a strong female lead opposite James Garner in a charming romantic drama that showed off her ability to play complex, real characters. In Steel Magnolias, 1989, she played Mine, the fiercely loving and protective mother of a daughter who was dying. The movie became a cultural touchstone and showed Field's unique ability to balance weakness with strength, humor with heartbreak. In 1993, she played Miranda Hillard in Mrs. Doubtfire, starring alongside Robin Williams as Williams' ex-wife. Field brought emotional weight to a family comedy that could have easily veered too far into slapstick. Her performance grounded the movie, making it relatable for both parents and kids. The movie became a huge hit. In what is still one of the most popular family movies of all time, Field's nuanced performance gave a character that could have been one-dimensional more credibility and depth. In the 2000s, Field returned to TV with a new level of dramatic complexity, taking on a recurring role on the hit medical series ER as Maggie Wasinski, the bipolar mother of nurse Abby Lockhart. Her performance earned her another Emmy Award in 2001, showing that she was still relevant and versatile. For 6 years, from 2006 to 2011, Field played Nora Walker on the family drama Brothers and Sisters. As the strong but emotionally fragile matriarch of the Walker family, Field brought warmth, wit, and resilience to the role, and her work on the show earned her yet another Emmy Award in 2007. The show dealt with family grief, politics, and identity, and Field's steady presence at the center of it was key to its success in 2012. In Steven Spielberg's Lincoln, Field played Mary Todd Lincoln opposite Daniel Day-Lewis. She played the emotionally complicated First Lady with sensitivity and depth, which earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Her performance gave a human touch to a historical figure who is often misunderstood or overlooked, and the movie was a critical and commercial success. In 2018, Field took a bold step in a different direction by publishing her memoir In Pieces. The book was a deeply personal look at her life. Field's willingness to be so open and vulnerable about her life, career, and the trauma she went through, such as sexual abuse and emotional struggles, gave fans a new understanding of her resilience and inner strength. It also showed how her personal life had shaped her professional choices and her ongoing fight for self-respect and artistic integrity. Most recently, in 2023, Field starred in the comedy 80 for Brady with Jane Fonda, Rita Moreno, and Lily Tomlin. The movie was about a group of older women who were determined to go to the Super Bowl. It was both a celebration of friendship and a rare portrayal of older women in leading comedic roles. It was a funny but important reminder that talent and relevance do not fade with age. Burt Reynolds' childhood abuse and the censored Emmy speech that sparked a national debate, but behind Sally Field's famous success story lies a more complicated reality marked by personal battles, emotional scars, and moments of public controversy. Field's early rise to fame in the 1960s and 1970s may have looked glamorous from the outside, but she quickly found herself limited by the roles she could get, especially in the 1970s. She started talking about how frustrated she was with being typecast, and the happy, light-hearted image she gained from her roles in Gig and The Flying Nun was hard to shed. These roles brought her national attention, but they also limited how casting directors and the public could see her. Field became more and more unhappy with being seen as the cute girl next door, and was often passed over for more emotionally complex or serious roles. This type of casting became a personal and professional challenge that she was determined to overcome. The pressure to fit into the narrow mold of TV stereotypes was discouraging for an actress with bigger goals. Field's frustration with this limited identity made her want to prove her range. In 1976, she was cast in a role that would change her life. As Sybil, a difficult role that let her play a woman with dissociative identity disorder, she stunned both critics and audiences with her performance. It earned her her first Emmy and completely changed her image in Hollywood. However, the years of being underrated had a lasting effect on Field. Her fight against the industry's simplistic view of her abilities taught her the hard lesson that image and substance were often at odds in Hollywood, especially for women. One of the most talked about parts of her personal life was her high-profile relationship with fellow actor Burt Reynolds. They were together from the late 1970s to the early 1980s, and their relationship was often romanticized in the press. Their chemistry on screen in movies like Smokey and the Bandit made them famous as a power couple of the time, but Field would later write a very different story about their time together in her 2018 memoir In Pieces. She talked about the bad parts of their relationship, calling it emotionally stifling and controlling. According to Field Reynolds, he often ignored her feelings and opinions, acting in a way that made her feel less important. Even though she loved him very much, she realized that the relationship had become toxic. She didn't include this in her memoir out of anger or revenge, but because she wanted to be completely honest about how easy it is to lose yourself in a relationship. Sharing Field's story gave a voice to many women who have been through similar struggles, showing that emotional abuse can happen to anyone, no matter how famous or important they are. One of the hardest and most heartbreaking parts of Field's memoir was when she talked about the sexual abuse she suffered as a child at the hands of her stepfather, actor Jock Mahoney. This abuse happened over several years and was something she kept to herself for most of her life. When she finally talked about it in public and in Pieces, it was one of the most personal and vulnerable times in her career. Field's decision to share this information wasn't meant to make a big deal. It was about reclaiming her story and breaking a silence that had been haunting her since childhood. Her disclosure got a lot of attention and was met with both support and sadness. It also led to important conversations about childhood trauma, abuse in families, and the long road to emotional healing. Field's willingness to put her story out there wasn't for attention, it was about reclaiming her story and breaking a silence that had been affecting her since childhood. Putting her pain into words gave many readers and fans strength, especially abuse survivors who saw themselves in her writing. This brave act went beyond the pages of a memoir and became part of a larger cultural conversation about the hidden wounds that many people carry and the power of telling the truth, no matter how painful it is. Despite her personal problems and career problems, Field has never been afraid to take strong public stands. Over the years, she's been a vocal supporter of women's rights. Field has been politically active for a long time, and it was clear when she accepted her award for her role in Brothers and Sisters at the 2007 Emmys. She made a political statement about war by saying, "If mothers ran the world, there would be no goddamn wars." The comment was a sincere plea for peace and a reflection of her long-standing belief in compassionate leadership. However, it quickly became controversial. Fox, the network that aired the award show, decided to censor her comment because it contained a swear word. This caused a huge debate about free speech, censorship, and whether political views had a place in award shows. Some viewers thought Field had gone too far, while others praised her bravery and sincerity. Field's words got a lot of attention from national media and sparked a free speech debate that went beyond TV. She stood by them and refused to back down, reaffirming her belief in telling the truth even when it's hard. Robin Williams' career problems and final years. As Sally Field continued to think about the complicated parts of her life and career, one part that got more attention was her time working with Williams, especially on Mrs. Doubtfire in 1993. People often praised Williams's huge talent and his ability to make any scene fun. Like Field's, Williams' life was full of struggle, change, and deep tragedy. Their time together on screen left an indelible mark not only on cinema history but also on their personal stories. Williams' journey through Hollywood and his private battles were eerily similar to Field's own experiences in the public eye. Robin Williams was born on July 21, 1951, He was born in Chicago, Illinois, and had a sharp mind and a quick sense of humor from a young age. These traits would help him have an amazing career. In 1973, he was accepted into the Juilliard School, which is one of the most prestigious performing arts schools in the world. There, he studied with Christopher Reeve, who would go on to play Superman. The two became close friends over their shared love of art and respect for each other. At Juilliard, Williams honed not only his acting skills but also his unmatched improvisational skills. Between 1978 and 1982, Williams became famous as Moore, the strange alien from the hit TV show Moore and Mindy. His crazy improvisations, physical comedy, and high energy made the show a huge hit, and his out-of-this-world character made him one of the most exciting new stars on TV. In 1980, he made the jump to the big screen, starring in his first movie as the title character. Popeye got mixed reviews, but it showed how dedicated he was to fully inhabiting characters, no matter how strange they were. Williams' real big break in movies came in 1987 with Good Morning Vietnam, in which he played a radio DJ entertaining troops during the Vietnam War. The role was based on his own life and perfectly balanced his comedic brilliance with serious undertones, earning him his first Academy Award nomination and worldwide fame. His ability to combine humor with heartfelt emotion left a lasting impression on. Then, in 1989, he starred in the moving drama Dead Poets Society, in which he played an inspiring English teacher who told his students to seize the day. The movie became a cultural touchstone, and Williams received his second Oscar nomination, solidifying his position as one of Hollywood's most versatile actors. In the early 1990s, Williams expanded his range even more by starring in two very different movies, The Fisher King, a dark and emotional story of redemption, and Hook Steven. Spielberg's imaginative take on Peter Pan, both movies showed his ability to switch between funny fantasy and serious drama. Then came Aladdin in 1992, where he voiced the genie who was bigger than life. This performance is often cited as one of the best voice acting roles of all time, with Williams's rapid-fire delivery and many improvisations bringing the character to life in a way that only he could. The next year, in 1993, Williams played one of his most famous roles in Mrs. Doubtfire, opposite Sally Field. After losing custody of his kids, a loving but flawed father disguises himself as a female housekeeper to stay close to them. The character was both funny and sad, and Williams gave a masterful performance that touched millions. Working with Sally Field, he created on-screen chemistry that felt deeply real. Their scenes together often mixed tension, humor, and affection, and they became central to the film's success. Mrs. Doubtfire wasn't just a hit at the box office, it became a cultural landmark and is still loved today. While working on the family classic, Williams was dealing with depression and addiction for most of his life, despite his infectious humor and seemingly endless energy. In 1997, he won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his role in Good Will Hunting, where he played a wise grieving therapist helping a troubled young man face his past and his potential. It was a quieter role than audiences were used to, but it showed what he was capable of. The depth and sensitivity that lay beneath Williams' manic exterior as the new millennium began. Williams continued to grow as an actor. In 2002, he played a pair of unsettling roles in 1 Hour Photo and Insomnia. In these movies, he played emotionally complex and sometimes sinister characters that were very different from the friendly and energetic characters he played in his earlier work. These performances were praised for their nuance and intensity, showing that Williams could inhabit darker emotional spaces just as well as he did in lighter ones. From 2006 to 2011, he did comedic roles. In 2013 and 2014, he played a noble and funny Theodore Roosevelt in The Night at the Museum franchise. The role reminded people of his unique ability to charm audiences of all ages. In 2013 and 2014, he returned to television with The Crazy Ones, a sitcom that showed glimpses of his early TV magic. Despite a strong start and a heartfelt performance, the series was short-lived and cancelled after one season. Williams stayed dedicated to his craft and continued to work. Tragically, on August 11, 2014, he killed himself at the age of 63, which devastated fans and co-workers around the world. Tributes poured in from across the entertainment industry, honoring his genius, generosity, and the many lives he touched. In the years that followed, new information came to light that gave us a better understanding of Williams' last years. In 2018, it was revealed that he had been suffering from Lewy body dementia, a severe neurological disorder that is often misdiagnosed. Memory loss, hallucinations, confusion, and physical symptoms that can look like other types of dementia or Parkinson's. This diagnosis explained a lot of the confusion, paranoia, and emotional pain that Williams was said to have been going through in his last few months. Knowing the truth about his last performances and public appearances gave fans and loved ones a better understanding of his sudden and tragic death. In recent interviews, two-time Oscar winner Sally Field has talked about Robin Williams's real behavior. In a new and deeply personal way about working with Robin Williams on the 1993 family classic Mrs. Doubtfire. After keeping some memories close for years, Field has started to share stories that show a lesser-known side of the late actor, one that challenges the public's view of him as just a wild improvisational genius. Her revelations go beyond simple nostalgia. They reintroduce us to Robin Williams through the eyes of someone who worked with him closely during a turning point in both their careers. Portrays a picture that is both tender, vulnerable, and deeply human. It all began on the set of Mrs. Doubtfire, a movie that many remember for its slapstick humor, heartfelt family moments, and Robin Williams's transformative performance as a father who dresses up as a nanny to stay close to his kids, but behind the laughter was a cast dealing with real-life problems. Field remembers a moment that had never been shared publicly, but she was determined to keep going. Williams noticed that she was upset and, in a rare break from his comedic energy, pulled her aside and asked, "Are you okay?" Field says that this one act of empathy changed everything. He didn't just ask to be polite, he knew she was hurting and insisted that the production be changed so she could go home and mourn. Field says that this moment has stayed with her ever since. In follow-up conversations, Field reaffirmed that Williams had a kind of emotional intelligence that often went beyond. At the 2023 SAG Awards, where she received the Lifetime Achievement Award, she talked about him again without being asked. She said, "There isn't a moment of it that isn't filled with my love and joy at being in his presence." Her tribute didn't focus on his fame, awards, or even the time they spent together on screen. It was about the. There were personal, emotional, and deeply human parts of their relationship, but there were also chaotic, joyful, and exhausting parts of working with someone like Robin Williams. Field remembered how relentlessly they worked together. He became in trying to make her snigger in the course of takes. It drove him virtually loopy that I would not smash, she said. Williams become known for improvising, for going off script within the maximum sudden methods, and he pushed those inclinations to the limit. At the same time as filming Mrs. Doubtfire, he could do multiple takes, converting his jokes every time, every one extra outrageous than the remaining, all in an effort to break her composure. And yet Field remained firmly in character, handing over her lines with an immediately face that she explained only made him try more difficult. Their playful from side to side had become a sort of unspoken sport, an expression of mutual respect, even competitiveness between two seasoned performers. Others on set echoed subject sentiments approximately. Williams' Mara Wilson, who played their daughter in the movie, recalled how he changed into very quiet, off Digicam, gentle, considerate, almost shy. In some moments he discovered everyone's names on set, from the caterers to the assistants, and he made a factor of creating human beings feel visible. Even along with his unpredictable humorousness, he had an uncanny potential to make everyone round him experience like they mattered. In line with team members, Williams as soon as renegotiated his timetable with the director, just to present subject the time she had to grieve. He wasn't just there to entertain, he turned into there to take care of people. Discipline's choice to share these reflections now in her past due Sevens isn't only a tribute to a chum, it's a aware act of legacy shaping. For many years she saved those moments non-public, perhaps out of respect, possibly out of modesty, but in selecting to speak now she reframes the public narrative surrounding Robin Williams. While the arena recollects him for his manic electricity, short wit, and unforgettable characters, area reminds us that he turned into also something else totally. A compassionate man who turned into attuned to the emotional currents around him. What makes this revelation even greater, tremendous, is Discipline's personal adventure. She's no stranger to emotional complexity. In her 2018 memoir In Pieces, she bravely disclosed deeply private reviews together with surviving adolescence trauma and overcoming years of TYP casting. In her early career, Arya was recognized for her roles in light-hearted TV Truthful Like Gidget and The Flying Nun, roles that she later admitted made her sense stifled. Breaking out of that mold took massive effort, culminating in dramatic performances that won her Academy Awards. Whilst she speaks approximately empathy, resilience, or the value of hiding pain, it comes from lived and joy. Robin Williams too knew what it meant to hold invisible burdens. Even though cherished for his buoyant comedy, he struggled privately with despair, addiction, and, as we later found out, the devastating results of Lewy body dementia, a situation misdiagnosed for years before his dying in 2014. The revelation that his erratic conduct in his final years was the end result of a neurological sickness brought another layer of complexity to the general public's information of his lifestyle's field. Stories don't attempt to outline or explain Williams totally, but they offer an essential window into his person. At some point have considered one of his most celebrated performances. Her words remind us that even at the height of his fame he became deeply invested in caring for others.